A network of 25 environmental organisations in Ireland is calling on the government to come up with an effective plan to address the country's water pollution problem. It comes after a report from the Environmental Protection Agency found that the quality of Ireland's lakes, rivers, estuaries and coastal waters declined in the last 5 years. We're joined by the coordinator of the Sustainable Water Network, Sinéad O'Brien. Sinéad O'Brien, you're welcome to the programme and thank you for talking to us this lunchtime. What's your reaction to this report and the findings of the EPA?
Yes, thanks, Brian. Yeah, we're extremely concerned about the findings. Despite significant investment over the last decade in water management, they're just not paying dividends. And that comes nearly 20 years after the introduction of a new water law, which has ostensibly been being implemented in Ireland over two cycles of a government water plan called River Basin Management Plan. And despite all of that, we have this report today that half our rivers, lakes and estuaries and coastal waters are unhealthy. And not only are they unhealthy, but as you said, they're actually declining. The trends are going in the wrong direction. And the EPA, who wouldn't be ones for strong language, have said that they're alarmed at the drop in quality, especially of estuaries and coastal waters. So yeah, this is not a good news day for our waters, for our rivers and lakes and coasts around Ireland, I'm afraid.
There are areas where they say there has been significant improvement in water quality, but the picture is very different in other parts of the country, and particularly in relation to coastal waters and estuaries, they identify parts of the east and the south. Now, why as far as you're concerned, are there particular problems in that part of the country?
Yeah, I mean, the report and the data in the report and research building up to it has made it very clear that that's linked to an upswing in agricultural intensification. So, and that answers the question earlier about that I raised about why with all this investment and all, as you've said, local areas where local communities are getting involved and doing really good work, why are things still going in the wrong direction? And if you look back to when the milk quota was abolished, you can see that there is an alignment between intensification of agriculture, in particular, as you said, in the south, the southeast and the east, and the upswing in pollution. So there's a very clear message here today that the majority of the pollution and the escalation of nitrate and phosphorus pollution is coming from agriculture. Farmers,
of course, were doing at the time what they were being asked to do, weren't they? They were being encouraged to expand their herds, expand their output. What needs to happen now to try to deal with the pollution that's a consequence of that?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it was government policy and it was driving them in one direction. So they're caught between a rock and a hard place. But what we're saying is that we need stricter regulations, especially for dairy farming. So at the moment, you have a licensing system for pigs and poultry. You don't have any licensing for intensive beef or dairy. So there is no way of controlling the impact that very clearly is having on very vulnerable catchments, for example, in the south and the southeast. So we're saying that there needs to be specific assessments, and the best way to do that is through licensing. And
just a final question, and briefly if you can, there are issues around forestry as well, aren't there?
There are, yeah, it's a complicated picture, and forestry has increased in its impact since the last report, and that's only going to be getting more challenging because, as we know, there's a plan to increase forestry to meet our climate change targets. So what we're saying in that case is we need sensitivity mapping. There's places where there can be afforestation and there's places where there must be no trees put in, and we need that to be strictly regulated. There is licensing for forestry at the moment, but as we can see from this report, it isn't working. So that needs to be updated to make sure that we only have the right tree in the right place.
All right.